Just because you can build an ADU doesn't necessarily mean you should, or does it? That's what we're going to talk about on today's video, and we're going to start right now. Hey y'all, last week I did a video looking at the value of an ADU. Does it make a property more valuable on average? And I'll link to that one up here. If you haven't watched it, go check it out. The takeaway was it is more valuable. The data does suggest homes with ADUs sell for more than homes that don't. But what I was thinking about is not every house has the ability to make an ADU. Either the lot's too small, the house is really large on the lot, it's really slopey or hilly, it doesn't make sense. So I felt like maybe that wasn't a totally fair comparison that I was doing. So I went back and reran the data, and I want to share with you what I found. So simply what I did is I looked at the lot size of homes that were selling with ADUs and found that on average it was right around 5,600 square feet. So I took the Alameda County average and got rid of all the homes that sold that had either less than a 4,500 square foot lot or greater than a 7,000 square foot lot. So I just focused on somewhat similar lot sizes to those homes that are selling with ADUs. And the data is actually even more interesting than what I put in that original video. So let's dive into this. So as a reminder, over the last 3 years, 21, 22, and 23, homes that sold in Alameda County with an ADU sold for an average of $1,546,177 or $720 per square foot. And again, most of those homes had good sized lots. The average was around 5,600 square feet. So then I looked back at the non-ADU sales and bracketed so that I found homes that had bigger lots that fell in that rough parameter, rough constraint, and here's what I learned. So when you look at those properties that sold with good sized lots, you found that the sales price on average was actually a bit lower than what we expected. $1,221,397. So the average price point went down with those bigger lots, which is really interesting. But the dollar per square foot went up to $770. So what's that about? Well, what I find in my experience touring with buyers and looking at comps all day is that people definitely pay for potential, but they perceive the effort and the work and the cost of that potential to be a lot higher. So even though something has a really big lot, it either means that you have to do a lot of work to build it out, you have to landscape it, you have to pay for it. All of that really goes into it. So it's compressing that price point a little bit. But what we're finding is there is a bit of a value premium assigned to the square footage that's there versus the average. The homes with those good sized lots versus the average in Alameda County sold for $148,798 less, but $16 a square foot more. Interesting. So what does this mean for ADUs? Well, when you consider homes that have that good sized lot that don't have the ADU versus that do, you're finding a really substantial difference in sales price. As a matter of fact, it's $324,780 less when you have a good sized lot but no ADU than if you did have one. So if you're spending only $150,000, $200,000 based on this data to build your ADU, you are making a very ROI positive investment. What that tells us is the buyer pool really values what's done and what's there versus the potential and what you might get in the future, whether you built it out yourself or someone else did it. When it's there and it's done, significant value versus just the potential. But when you compare the ADU properties to the larger lots without the ADU, you're finding that the houses that sell with the good lots, no ADUs, actually sell for about $50 more per square foot than those ADU properties. Again, we talked about this in the last video. As square footage increases, you would expect your dollar per square foot to decrease. I'm gonna do a video on breaking out teaser pricing and how to think about this yourself. I'll link to it up here when it's done. But in general, that's what you see is that trend line. It's sort of a diminishing return, if you will. And that's what we're seeing here. People are paying a premium for the bigger lots, although the overall value the raw sales price isn't as great as when it is done with the ADU or some larger home or some other improvement. So when you compare more like for like, those bigger lots, that buildable potential, there's a huge premium assigned to properties that have the done finished ADU than if they just have the potential to build that ADU. And so if you buy one of those properties, you go through the effort of developing it, the market says you made a good investment, you are going to be rewarded, and it's even bigger than the average I did in the last video. Almost 2x the return on the averages as what you would expect across the entire market. So if you're looking for a way to build and force equity and appreciation into your property, look for something with a larger lot, build it out, and the market, according to this data, will reward you. Hey, if you got some value out of this, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to continue to put out content like this. And if we can ever be of assistance to you in your real estate journey here in the East Bay, shoot me an email. I'll put it down in the description and in the video here. We'd love to hear from you. I hear from people weekly who are starting their search, who are deep in the midst of it, who are a year out, wanting to start thinking about how to plan for this thing. So if you're here getting value out of this video, you want to take this conversation more privately, one-on-one, I'd love to hear from you, because I hear from a lot of folks just like you every single week. So without any further ado, thanks for being here. Signing off for now. We'll see you on the next one.